Okay, I know it's nothing glamorous, but this is something I had mentioned a few months ago in a video on morale, welfare, and recreation items for bringing with you. I'd mentioned cloth board games. Well, not long after I did that video, I went to a historic living event and trade fair, and one of the little tent areas or tables that was set up was someone that was actually selling some. There was lots of different types there. You could even find a version of Chinese checkers where they used little epoxy markers and stuff instead of marbles, and a pegboard. And I got this basic checkers game. Now, as you can see with it, it is just, like I said, it's a piece of cloth with the game board painted onto it or pressed onto it, whatever way the maker does it. And they also supply pieces, and the pieces are usually pretty basic. There's a lot of board games that you will find in these cloth bag games or cloth board games that aren't played anymore. Stuff from the Middle Ages and that stuff from the early days of the colonial era here in North America. Games that were popular back then but now are forgotten. Games that stuck around from those days would be like checkers and chess and stuff. And along with your playing cards and that stuff, which when you trace those back, go back to like tarot cards and that, which was originally a game also from what I have heard. These games are pretty lightweight. The particular pieces you see, to include the dice, are made out of wood. And they are treated, lacquered, painted, whatever, to make sure that they will survive the elements. They will survive moisture. Now, obviously, something like this is not going to last if you submerge it in water a long time. But just being out in the occasional damp, it should be fine. It doesn't weigh much. You know, it probably at most weighs 8 ounces, at most. This particular set did come with a book of instructions for different styles of checkers that were played through the ages, different rules that were done. I am not going to show you that book because it has the address for the person that manufactures these on the front, and I'm not going to show that. So, you know, this is one of those things for you to consider. It didn't cost much. I think I spent at most like $5 to $8 for it. I'm thinking about getting a hold of some chess pieces to include in the bag with it. And, you know, this might end up inside my rucksack. You know, who knows? One game that I would really like to see someone make, if anyone was watching this because you're considering making these, I would like to see a cloth board game of a map of either North America or Europe. And it is essentially a takeoff of Axis and Allies. So some basic pieces, a basic board with some really basic rules that are easy to follow in that stuff. Include in there, you know, the set of dice and whatever is needed. Don't have anything in there like the cardboard or paper markers or any of that stuff, or the cash. You know, you can keep track of that stuff using a notebook and a pencil and paper or something, most likely, but just some basic type of strategy game. I think that would be awesome, you know, if I would ever come across something like that. And it doesn't matter to me if it's a game based off of the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War I, World War II, you know, a second American Civil War, shit hits the fan scenario, it doesn't matter. You know, if it's a cool strategy game that would be along the lines like this, easy to transport with you, you know, I would consider it. Seriously, if someone's watching that makes these, you know, see if you can come up with something that works. Now, I know someone will probably say, well, it's cloth. Cloth will degrade. It'll fall apart over time. It would be better if the board is made out of vinyl or plastic. That would last longer in wet environments, but the issue with vinyl and plastic type boards would be that during winter time, that material would get stiff, it will crack. So would it last longer than the cloth boards? It's kind of hard to say. As long as you pack this away inside your rucksack, inside a waterproof bag or something, you should be okay. But this is just an item, you know, for someone to think about who's trying to consider what to bring with them to help them pass the time, to help them try to keep their sanity. You know, you may not want to take a book with you because you'd be reading the same thing over again. Well, get a hold of one of these types of board games, these basic old-fashioned style board games. Look up some of those old rules, the specialty house rules from across the country, from Europe and that stuff, depending on the game that you're playing. And, you know, go with it. Great way to pass the time, great way to get your mind off of what's going on around you and stuff. Something to consider. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and Militia movements, always remember, essayons.